we're going to take a look at the two most basic yet fundamental core exercises, the front plank and the side plank. So when we set up the front plank, we're going to get right onto the ground. We're going to set up with our elbows lined up right under our shoulders. From there, we're going to get onto the balls of our feet, pulling our toes towards our shins and digging the balls of our feet into the ground. We're going to lock our knees, squeeze our glutes, and tighten up in our midsection, thinking about pulling your ribs into your hips, or just imagine like someone's about to kick you in the gut. So this is the first step to setting up your plank. Now, you can hold this position for a pretty long time, even with everything squeezed. But we're going to add one more element to make it tough. So while I'm trying to keep my body straight from heels to head, I'm also going to think about pulling my elbows in towards my toes. So I'm going to pull them in, and now it gets tougher. So my breathing is going to be important. I'm going to do short, sharp breaths. You'll find that within 10 seconds, if you're really trying to rip those elbows in towards your toes, 10 to 15, max 20 seconds, and that's going to be for you all-stars out there, is going to be a really good interval to work out those abdominals. Now, some of you might be wondering, why isn't he talking about crunches when it comes to the most fundamental and basic of the core exercises? Well, here's a quick little kind of info session for you. The core, although it's able to get us to flex and bend, the real job of the core is to actually keep us from moving. So you see, when I get into that plank hold, my goal is to eliminate all extra movement. So I don't want to look like this. I don't want my hips to be down. I want to be keeping that position nice and strong for the time that I hold it. Crunches, although they've traditionally been like the go-to or the staple core exercise, they actually put a lot of strain on our back. Just imagine that my two fists are the vertebrae and the space in between is where your discs are. Every time you do a crunch, you're putting pressure on that inner portion of the disc, and there's a chance of having an issue with a bulge disc or a herniation from repetitive flexing of the spine. And that's a really big issue. Some people might say, I've done thousands of crunches and never had an issue. But it's kind of like people who smoke. They might be smoking for a long time, nothing happened, but when it does happen, it's going to be big and it's going to be an issue. And so we want to avoid that and really focus on what the job of the core is, which is to limit movement so that all the other movements our body is doing are going to be done effectively without us flopping around. So that brings us to the front plank being kind of a staple, basic, foundational core exercise, because it gets us to really engage and try to eliminate all that extra movement. Now, the next exercise is the side plank, and we've got a lot of variations for it. I'm going to go to kind of the trademark variation and then give you some tougher options and some options that you can use as your building blocks to get to it. So for the side plank, I'm going to set up, again, elbow under my shoulder. My legs are going to be straight, hips off the ground. I want to be straight from head to heels. From here, I'm locking my knees, squeezing my glutes, nice and tight up at the front, trying to pull those ribs down to my hips, neck straight, all the way from head to hips. Okay. Now, one way I can make it tougher, and one way I can really engage, it's not just about making it tougher, this is about almost kind of doing it the right way, is engaging my lats and pulling into it. So just like with the front plank, we pull those elbows to our toes, we're going to pull our elbow to our heels. So from here, now I'm going to try to pull it in, and that's going to create a line of tension right across the side of my body, which is what I want, that nice tight core tension. Now that might be a little bit too tough for you to start with, so what you can do is level 1, get on your knees, squeeze those glutes nice and tight up front. Level 2, extend one leg. Level 3, scissor your legs so they're kind of split. And then level 4 is here, kind of that benchmark position. Level 5 is extending that arm or lifting the foot up. But all the time we want to make sure that our hips don't sag or don't go up to the sky. it's nice and straight. So push hips forward and up a bit to get nice and straight and pulling that elbow in. So that's your front plank and your side plank. Again, remember that the focus of developing the core muscles is not about seeing how much movement we can get in the core, but in fact about how little movement we can get there, to restrict it here so that when we get into doing other movements, we can do the movements that we want to do properly without losing our position. And that has to do with keeping that core tension. So there's your front plank and your side plank, level 1 of the core progressions.